Hi friends, hope you are doing great. So welcome to our second session on reading comprehension. We have already covered in our first session what is reading comprehension, why reading comprehension exercises are included in various exams like CSAT and Bank PO, and what what are they trying to gauge out of these exercises. Now, having the knowledge of why reading comprehension, let's go to the next session which talks about these agendas. First, let's see what are the various trends of reading comprehension in CSAT paper. Then we would cover tools for effective reading, and finally we'll take an example and we'll discuss a technique of how to read effectively. So let's first go and see what are the trends in recent CSAT exams. In the year 2014, there were 26 questions and they constituted 65% marks, which means 32.5%. The total of 8 passages were there. Similarly, in 2013, 12 and 11, the questions were in and around 30, right? So on an average, we can say that in CSAT exam, there are around 28 questions on reading comprehensions, right? Which constitute around 30 to 35% of paper 2. So it constitutes around 30 to 35% of paper 2, which means we cannot leave it aside. 30 to 35% is always reading comprehension, and we have to focus on reading comprehension very much. So we'll do that from now on. The number of passages were almost around 7 to 9. So apart from 2011, the number of passages were either 8 or 9. So on an average, each passage has around 3 or 4 questions, almost around 3.5 questions. The average length of passage in each of these years was something between 300 to 450 words, which means that you would require around 4 or 4.5 minutes to read each passage. The level of difficulty was easy or it was moderate. There was nothing very difficult in these passages, and topics were also very limited. So you would not find a passage on philosophy in CSAT exam. There were passages on ecology, there were passages on environment, economics, polity, society, which means sociology, science, education, and so on and so forth. So the passages were very limited. They were mainly taken from the recent developments which happened in and around that year, or general topics of discussion. So they were more or less news extracts or some extract from some books or something like that, right? So this is what RC looks like in CSAT paper. Now, after the controversy of last year, which means the controversy of translation from English to Hindi, the emphasis on RC might decrease, but it would remain in and around 25-30%. So you can expect around 25 to 30 question in CSAT 2015 as well. Let's go to the next topic, which is tools for effective reading, right? We have already understood that why a reading comprehension exercise is there in an exam like CSAT. So based on that knowledge, we devise certain tools for effective reading. The first tool is to understand the central theme or main point of passage, what author is trying to say in the passage. So there might be different paragraphs in a passage in which author is trying to say different things, but a commonality of theme might flow through all these paragraphs. So you have to look at commonality of theme which flows through all these paragraphs and come to central theme idea. The next important step is to understand tone or mood of the passage, right? So there can be many types of tones in which passages can be written. For example, the passage can be written to describe certain events, or a passage can be written to make a mockery of certain thing, or it can be written to analyze certain situations. So you have to just understand why is the passage written. we would cover more about tones and moods of the passage in our next session. It is a big topic and a topic in itself, so we would not be touching this in this session, but this would be done in next session. The next important thing is underlining the keywords of each passage, each paragraph, right? So as you are reading the passage, there might be 2 or 3 paragraphs, so you should underline keywords in each paragraph, so that once you are going back and referring to the paragraph from questions, you can easily look where the keywords are. And finally, you should also make summary notes, right? For each paragraph, you should also make summary notes. The summary note should be 1 or 2 liner, which tells us that what this particular paragraph is talking about. Right? So these are few points which you should keep in mind while reading. Now let's discuss one of the techniques which I use, which is preemptive reading. What do we mean by preemptive reading? It means that we preempt or try to predict what the author might say in next line or next paragraph. This helps us in forming a view or empathizing with author, right? If we try to predict that what author would be saying in the next paragraph, we have to put ourselves in author's shoes, and in this way we can very much empathize or understand his way of thinking and might construct our thought process in the similar manner. So how do we do this? So read each paragraph of the passage line by line. Firstly, you have to read each paragraph line by line, and meanwhile while reading you have to underline the keywords as well, right? And then write the important message if there is any for each line. While you are writing the important message or summary of that line, you have to predict what the next line might be or what the next paragraph might be talking about. So this is the preemption, right? You are just predicting what the next line or next paragraph might be. After each passage, as we have already discussed, write the summary of it. Once these things are done, it would be very easy to find the central idea or central theme of the passage by joining the summaries of each paragraph. Let's go to a live example. Let's take a passage from CSAT 2014 and understand how this technique works. So our paragraph is around 430 words, and it says, in the recent times, India has grown fast not only compared to its own past but also in comparison with other nations. So this line talks about the economic growth, right? So by reading first line, we might say that author might be talking about the economic growth in India, right? So he might be talking about economic growth in India, various factors which are responsible for this economic growth and how this economic growth is shaping our future. So author might be talking about all this. So this is our assumption, this is our guess that the paragraph might be related to this. Let's go to next line and see whether our assumption is right or wrong. But, so here the but means author is trying to present a contrary view. So but becomes our keyword here. So but is a keyword. Now we have to be very, very careful while reading the next line, because he might be presenting a contrary view. And what is that contrary view? Let's see. But there cannot be any room for complacency, because it is possible for Indian economy to develop even faster and also to spread the benefits of this growth more widely than it has been done thus far, right? So though it's not exactly the contrary view, but it presents the other side of the story, which means that in the first line, author has talked about economic growth, which is a positive aspect, But in second line he has talked about the negatives which are attached with it, which is the benefits of growth might more widely than has been thus far, which means that though India has grown in economies thus far, the growth or the benefits are not penetrated. So benefits of growth might more widely than been thus far. So these are the important words in this line, right? So we'll also mark these words. So now what? Author in first line introduce the concept of economic growth in India. In second line he talks about the benefits which are still limited, right? Which are still limited to most of the people, and he talks about that we should keep this economic growth intact so that the benefits are driven deep down. So the author might now be talking about the benefits of economic growth, right? How it has changed the society, or what are the important facets of economic growth. Before going into details of microstructural changes that we need to conceptualize and then proceed to implement, it is worthwhile elaborating on the idea of inclusive growth, right? So inclusive growth is the new word and a very important word. That constitutes the defining concept behind this government's various economic policies and decisions, right? So inclusive growth constitutes the defining concept behind this government's various economic policies and decisions. So inclusive growth might be the talk of paragraph henceforth, because he says before going into detail, let's look at what inclusive growth is, right? So he would be talking about inclusive growth henceforth. So till now what he has done, he has introduced the concept of economic growth in India. He has also told us that it is limiting in its approach, right? And he then talks about the concept called inclusive growth. Let's now understand what is inclusive growth. A nation interested in inclusive growth views the same growth differently depending on whether the gain of growth are heaped primarily on a small segment or shared widely by the population. So the gains of the growth are heaped by a small segment or shared by the widely by the population. This is precisely the definition of inclusive growth. Right? So here he has defined the inclusive growth. The latter, which means the latter means what? Shared widely by the population is the latter, right? Latter is cause for celebration but not the former, right? So here he says inclusive growth is cause for celebration and not the gain of growth heaped primarily on small segments. In other words, growth must not be treated as an end in itself, but as an instrument for spreading prosperity to all, right? So this is the basic agenda of inclusive growth, that it acts as an instrument of spreading prosperity. So this is again an important point which he mentions here. India's own past experience and experience of other nations suggest that growth is necessary for eradicating poverty, but it is not a sufficient condition. Again, here he is emphasizing on growth and how growth is related to eradicating poverty, but still it's not a sufficient condition. The emphasis by this line again means that there is something which is beyond growth, and that something is inclusive growth. So there has to be inclusive growth so that it eradicates poverty. In other words, policies for promoting growth needs to be, so he is again extending the point which says the policies for promoting growth need to be complemented, right? So complemented is another word which is important, which means apart from growth what is needed is policies to ensure that more and more people join in the growth process, which again means inclusive growth. And further, that there are mechanisms in place to redistribute the gains to those who are unable to partake in market process and hence get left behind. So the growth should not be limited to just those people who are in market process, but also to those who are left behind somehow, right? So this means he is talking about inclusive growth in this paragraph. So after reading this paragraph, what can we say? What kind of summary can we envisage? The summary can be: growth is important, but inclusive growth is required to eradicate poverty and to include all in growth process, right? So this is our key takeaway from this paragraph. Now what can we predict about the next paragraph? In next paragraph he might talk about how to do this inclusion, right? He might talk about how to do this inclusion. He might present a way out of checking that growth is penetrating deep down the bottom of the pyramid or to the poorest section of the society. Let's go to next paragraph, line 1, to understand what he is trying to say. A simple way of giving this idea of inclusive growth a sharper form is to measure a nation's progress in terms of progress of its poorest segment, for instance the bottom 20% of the population. So he is trying to set how inclusive growth can be measured, right? Measurement of inclusive growth. And how he is proposing that? By measuring the growth of bottom 20% of population. So this is one of the methods which he is trying to say. So this is one of the methods, one of the many methods, right? There can be many methods. So one of the methods he is proposing. One could measure the per capita income of bottom quintile, right? So this is a difficult word. You might not know the meaning, so let's leave the meaning of this word as it is, as for now. So we'll bold it as of now. Bottom quintile of population, and also calculate the growth rate. So bottom quintile means we are talking about bottom 20% or bottom or the poorest of the population in a country. So one might measure per capita income of poorest of the population in the country and also calculate the growth rate of income and evaluate our economic success in terms of these measures that pertains to poorest segment. So we can evaluate our economic success in terms of how the poorest segment is performing as far as per capita income. So per capita income becomes an important word, and growth rate. These are the two parameters which should be measured, right? So just underline these two parameters. The approach is attractive because it does not ignore growth like some of the other older heterodox criterias do. So again, this is a difficult word. We don't know the meaning. Let's leave it because it's not important to know the meaning. But we can understand the meaning of this whole sentence. This approach is attractive, right, as compared to the older approach, because it does not ignore growth like some of the older heterodox criterias did. It simply looks at the growth of the income of poorest sections of the population. He is again reiterating the approach. it also ensures that those who are outside of the bottom quintile do not get ignored, right? So how is it better? It also ensures that those who are outside of the bottom quintile do not get ignored. And how it is possible? He might explain it further. If that were done, if that were done means, so this is a keyword, if that were done. So which means he is continuing his old thought. If that were done, then those people would in all likelihood drop into bottom quintile, right? So if we ignore some people, they might again drop to bottom quintile, and so would automatically become a direct target of our policies, right? So this is how this approach is better than the the former or the older approaches. Hence the criteria being suggested here is statistically summing up of idea of economic growth. So what was the idea which was being suggested here? Is to measure the growth rate of bottom 20% of the population, right? So this is the idea which is being suggested here, which in turns lead to true corollaries, to which that India must strive to achieve higher growth, and that we must work to ensure that weakest section of the segments benefit from the growth, right? So last paragraph, last line is very important. It almost summarizes the entire paragraph. It says that it boils down to two things, that we should have high growth and our weakest section should be benefited from this growth. So this paragraph, whole paragraph, talks about what? This paragraph talks about method to measure inclusive growth. This is what it talks about. Now if we join these two paragraphs, so first paragraph as a summary that growth is important but inclusive growth is required to eradicate poverty and to include all in growth process, right? The second paragraph talks about method to measure this inclusive growth. So what is the central idea of this passage? The central idea of this passage was very well summarized in last line, which says that growth is important but there should be an inclusive growth. So he is primarily talking about inclusive growth in this paragraph, right? So this is the way you should read the paragraph. You should understand that there are some keywords, there are some important lines which you have to underline, right? And you have to just predict what the author is trying to say in next paragraph or next line. Now even before going to questions, if you can write that what is the central idea of this passage, questions might become very easy for you, right? We'll see how to use questions as well in reading the paragraph, right? So we'll discuss more about tones, we'll discuss more about various type of questions which may appear in CSAT exam and also in other exams in our next session. Also we'll talk about how to use options and how to eliminate various choices to come at the right answers. This is all for this session. I hope you have gained an insight on how to do the reading comprehension exercises or how to read in general. Even if you employ this reading technique in reading the newspapers, right? So I suggest that you employ this technique in reading the newspapers. Try to make small notes on the side of each editorial or each piece of news which you read, and try to write the central idea of each paragraph or each passage which you read. This would get a long way as far as your understanding of reading comprehension is concerned, as far as your concept building is concerned. I hope that you enjoyed this session and you learned a great deal from this session. Thanks as of now and all the best.